Hello, my name is Nikki. I am your host of Lovingly Guided, and today we are going to be reading Chapter 5 from my book, Rewriting Life's Rules: How to Break Free from Society. This week it is on relationships, rewriting the rules of connection. Navigating relationships, whether they're romantic, platonic, familial, or professional, is rarely simple. For a long time, I believed there was a right way these connections should look. I created unspoken rules shaped by past wounds and societal expectations and clung to them without realizing how limiting they were. The truth is that some relationships aren't meant to last forever, and others come into our lives simply to teach us something before they move on. Not everyone is meant to walk our entire path with us. Letting go, especially when we still love or care for someone, can feel like a quiet kind of grief. Like watching a familiar sunset for the last time, knowing the light won't fall the same way again. But sometimes growing means making room for peace, even if it means gently releasing the hands we once thought we'd hold forever. Relationships with friends and colleagues. There was a time when I was consumed by what other people thought of me. I didn't want to rock the boat, so I kept quiet when something didn't feel right. I let people cross my boundaries, though at the time, I didn't know what a boundary was. I was the yes person, the one who would drop everything to be there for others, even when I was running on empty. I now realize that the reason I stayed in toxic friendships and one-sided connections for so long is that I hadn't yet learned the value of self-respect. I didn't know I was allowed to put myself first. Let me be clear, loving someone doesn't mean you have to tolerate being drained, used, or disrespected. There was a turning point for me when a close friend pulled me aside and with a mix of love and honesty called out another friend I had been defending. He told me she was manipulating me, guilt-tripping me, and treating me like her personal punching bag. At first, I made excuses for her, telling myself and him that she was just going through a tough time. The truth was, I didn't want to take accountability for the fact that I was allowing someone to treat me that way. And honestly, I was scared of hurting her feelings. But eventually, I had to face the hard truth. No matter what someone is going through, it doesn't give her the right to constantly hurt or drain someone else, period. Oh, my pages got stuck. Hold on. One of the hardest lessons I've had to learn was that we teach people how to treat us. If you shrug off harmful comments, stay quiet when your boundaries are crossed, or keep picking up the pieces while never asking for support, then that becomes the standard. That's the dynamic you allow. It took me time and a lot of unlearning, but I started setting boundaries, real ones. Some people didn't like it, some relationships faded out, others became stronger and healthier because of it. And here's the thing, choosing yourself doesn't mean you love them less, it means you love yourself more. Some friendships ended simply because we were no longer aligned. They stayed in environments I had outgrown. They wanted to stay comfortable and I needed to keep evolving. That doesn't mean I don't wish them well. I still send them love from afar, but I had to let go of trying to belong in places where I no longer felt safe or supported. That wasn't easy for me in the beginning. I wasn't expecting the sudden wave of grief that hit me. At first, I thought something was wrong with me because I kept finding myself in these cycles of crippling sadness, something that felt a lot like my depression. I mean, I was trying to grow and step into a new version of myself, so why did I feel like this? It took me a while to let myself really feel it and realize that I was allowed to grieve. I was stepping away from people and environments that had once been a part of me, and it's okay to feel sad about that. Family boundaries. Family boundaries can be even harder, but just as necessary. Sometimes the hardest people to set boundaries with are the ones closest to us. But doing so helped me create healthier relationships from family members, not colder ones. Sometimes distance is what creates clarity. My relationship with my dad is a perfect example of how creating distance can bring clarity. It wasn't an easy decision but I was in the process of reframing my beliefs and building the life I'd always dreamed of. My dad didn't agree with everything I wanted, and because I had such a deep-rooted desire to make him proud, that disagreement made things even harder. For a while, going against his beliefs felt like I was betraying him, and that blocked me from fully stepping into my own. So I created some space. That distance gave me the clarity I needed. I was finally able to stand in my truth, not from a place of rejection, but from a place of love. When we reconnected, our conversation shifted. I wasn't as reactive or defensive anymore. I could actually hear what he was saying, and I could communicate where I was coming from in a way that helped him understand. Not just what I was doing, but why. That space allowed both of us to grow and made our relationship stronger. When I quit drinking, I lost a lot of friends, and while that was painful, it also showed me how many of those friendships were built around shared habits, not shared values. I walked away from people I cared about deeply because I no longer felt comfortable being in environments where heavy drug use was normalized. I wanted something different for my life, and that meant choosing comfort over destruction. Romantic relationships. This section held me back from writing this book for a while. I kept thinking, who am I to talk about healthy relationships when I've struggled to sustain one myself? But the truth is that that's exactly why I can speak to it. I lived through the chaos, I've stayed in toxic cycles, and now for the first time, I'm in a relationship that feels safe. And I'm learning what love is supposed to look like. My current partner and I have been together for over a year now, and I'll be honest, sometimes it still feels foreign. I catch myself wondering, when is the other shoe going to drop? When does the kindness stop? The support, the love? When do I lose myself again? Those thoughts come from old wounds and old programming, but now each time one of these thoughts come up, I use the stop thought method, a cognitive behavior technique used to interrupt and eliminate unwanted, intrusive, or negative thoughts. S stands for stop, T stands for take a breath, O stands for observe, and P stands for process. This method helps brings awareness to the negative thoughts and reframes them into a more positive form. So I turn the negative questions around and ask myself, how good can it get? What if I let myself receive this kind of love? This man has taught me so much and has already helped heal many of my past wounds and trauma. I want nothing more than to spend the rest of my life with him, but if for some reason we are not able, I will always be thankful for him showing me what a true healthy relationship looks like. I used to think that love had to be chaotic, that if someone didn't fight back or yell with me, they didn't care. I confused passion with dysfunction because that's what I grew up seeing. And in previous relationships, I often picked fights just to feel something. When things were calm, I mistook it for boredom instead of peace. But here's what I now know. Healthy love feels like peace. Like sitting under your favorite tree, listening to the creek go by. While breathing in the forest air, it feels safe, it feels steady, it doesn't make you question your worth or feel like you're walking on eggshells or dimming your light to avoid casting shadows. In one past relationship, I was constantly told I was too much, too emotional, too affectionate, too needy. I remember reaching out for a hug and being shoved away with the words, "Don't touch me," B word. Those words took root, and for a long time I believed them. But now I've rewritten that rule. The right person will never make you feel like you're too much. They'll love all of you, your depth, your softness, your strength, your sparkle. They won't try to dim your light. They want you to bask in it. And maybe the biggest shift has been realizing that I don't lose myself in love anymore, because I've done the work to know myself and I've learned to hold on to my truth, even while building something beautiful with someone else. So here are my old rules around relationships. Relationships are chaotic, not safe. What I felt was more like survival than love. Speaking up for myself felt like a risk I couldn't afford. If I stand up for myself, I'll be abandoned. I taught myself I needed to shrink. I can't be my full self. To be chosen, I made myself smaller and smaller. I always lose myself in relationships. My new rules around relationships. Relationships can be safe, calm, and supportive, just like coming into a steady harbor. My truth is no longer something I hide. It's a light that draws in the right ones. My authenticity attracts aligned and meaningful connections. I no longer water myself down. I can be fully myself and be deeply loved for it. I am no longer searching to be complete. I stay rooted in who I am. Love adds to me, not erase me. Relationships will always require work, but not suffering. There's a difference. As you evolve, your connections will too. Some people will rise with you, some won't. That's not failure, that's growth. As you rewrite your beliefs about love, friendship, and connection, remember this. You deserve relationships that honor you, challenge you to grow, and allow you to feel safe. You don't need to earn love by shrinking yourself. You're worthy of connection just as you are. The more you live from the truth, the more aligned your relationships will become. Here's an exercise for you. Journal or meditate on this question. Have you been tolerating disrespect, manipulation, or emotional neglect from someone because it's easier than losing them? I have a lot more questions in here as well and journal prompts for you to go through. But as always, if you want access to all of them, you'll have to buy the book. I hope you have a beautiful day. And as always, I love you. Bye.